Welcome to Best 5, where we uncover history's creepiest and most bizarre secrets. Subscribe if you dare. Number 5. The vampires' killings of the 1800s in New England. These vampires weren't quite what you might think, but the story is chilling nonetheless. It's the 1800s, and a mysterious illness is sweeping through New England. People are wasting away, coughing up blood, and no one knows why. Today, we know this disease as tuberculosis, but back then it was believed that the dead were rising from their graves and preying on the living. Yes, you heard that right, vampires. In a desperate bid to protect their loved ones, communities began to exhume the bodies of the recently deceased. What they did next was straight out of a horror movie. Some simply turned the bodies face down, thinking this would prevent them from rising. Others took it a step further, rearranging the bones in bizarre patterns to trap the spirits. But the most extreme measures involved burning the hearts of the deceased and, brace yourself, inhaling the smoke. They believed this gruesome act would cure the afflicted and stop the vampire in its tracks. Imagine the scene, a grim festival where townspeople gathered to burn hearts and inhale the smoke, hoping to save their families from the clutches of the undead. These macabre rituals weren't just isolated incidents. Entire towns would hold these eerie ceremonies, complete with public celebrations of the exhumation and destruction of corpses. It sounds like something out of a gothic horror novel, but it was very real for the people of New England. While we now know that tuberculosis was the real culprit, these terrifying practices highlight the lengths to which people will go when gripped by fear and superstition. So next time you think of vampires, remember the dark days of New England, where the fight against the undead was all too real. Number 4. If you think your modern dentures are bad, wait until you hear what people used to put in their mouths. Back in the 18th and 19th centuries, dental hygiene was practically non-existent. High-sugar diets, dubious teeth-whitening techniques that wore away enamel, and a complete lack of hygiene knowledge meant people were losing teeth left and right. So what did they use for dentures? Well, if you were wealthy, you might get dentures made from ivory. But for the less fortunate, the options were, let's say, less appealing. The most common source for dentures? Human teeth, from dead bodies. That's right. Grave robbers and battlefield scavengers would sell teeth to dentists, who then crafted them into dentures. And if that wasn't unsettling enough, other materials included animal teeth, and yes, even wood. Imagine chewing with chunks of someone else's teeth or bits of ivory tusk in your mouth. Sanitary conditions? Forget about it. Many physicians didn't even believe in sterilizing instruments before surgery. Number 3. If you've ever walked into an old church and been awestruck by the colorful windows, you're not alone. But what if I told you these masterpieces have a rather unexpected ingredient? Let's wind the clock back to 1112. Picture this: a German monk meticulously documenting the process of creating these vibrant works of art. It all starts innocently enough, mixing sand and potash, then heating it to sizzling temperatures until it's molten. Next, they'd add a stabilizer to the mix. Then came the magic, coloring the glass with metallic oxides, copper for reds, cobalt for blues, and even gold for those rich, glowing yellows. Once the glass cooled and was shaped into beautiful panels, it was time for the details. They used paint made from lead or copper. But here's the jaw-dropper. They suspended this paint in urine. Yep, you heard that right? Pea paint. Imagine monks in medieval Europe carefully painting sacred scenes with a paint mixture that included urine. It sounds bizarre, but it actually helped the paint stick better to the glass. This quirky ingredient made those breathtaking designs last for centuries. So, next time you admire a stained glass window, remember it has a splash of history that's quite literally relief art. Number 2. Nowadays, it's rare to find real leather on anything. But did you know that some of the oldest leather-bound books have a sinister secret? Instead of cowhide, some of these books were bound in human skin. Yes, you heard that right. Human skin. This macabre practice is known as anthropodermic bibliopagy. The process was similar to binding books with animal leather, but with one major chilling difference: the leather came from humans. There are only 18 confirmed books of this kind that still exist today, but who knows how many existed in the past. These books were often made from the skin of executed convicts. One particularly creepy rumor from the French Revolution claims that there was a tannery for human skin just outside Paris. Imagine the dark history those books carry. During the French Revolution, chaos and bloodshed were rampant, and it's said that human skin was readily available for such grim uses. But this wasn't just a European phenomenon. In the 19th century, some American doctors preserved medical texts with the skin of cadavers they had dissected. It was a way to memorialize their patients, albeit in a disturbingly permanent fashion. One infamous example is the Hume Tract, a book bound in the skin of the notorious murderer William Burke. His executioner thought it fitting to turn his skin into a book cover, forever binding his crimes in a morbidly poetic way. Thankfully, we've moved far away from these dark practices. Today, when you pick up a leather-bound book, you can be almost certain it's cowhide or synthetic. But the next time you see one of these ancient tomes, remember they might have a deeper, darker history than you ever imagined. The history of books is filled with fascinating and sometimes eerie stories like this. Number 1. In the late 1800s, a woman named Williamina Dean, or Minnie as she was known, became a household name in Winton, New Zealand. A seemingly kind nanny, Minnie took care of children whose parents couldn't or wouldn't care for them. But behind her caring facade lurked a sinister secret. In 1889, tragedy struck. A child under Minnie's care suddenly died. The town was shocked but chalked it up to a freak accident. However, just 2 years later, another child perished under her watch. This was no coincidence. The local police decided to dig deeper. What they found was chilling. Minnie had taken out life insurance policies on the children in her care. Yes, you heard that right. Life insurance policies on innocent kids. The investigation revealed even more horrors. Police found a boy, neglected and malnourished, drinking curdled milk and wearing filthy clothes. This was no loving nanny. This was a house of horrors. By 1895, the net was closing in. Minnie was caught trying to flee on a train with yet another victim in her arms. A search of her home uncovered a gruesome discovery: 3 more hidden bodies of children. The evidence was overwhelming. Minnie was tried and found guilty of multiple murders. Her trial captivated the nation, and in 1895, she became the first and only woman to be hanged in New Zealand. Minnie Dean's story is a haunting reminder of the darkness that can hide behind a seemingly benign smile. Her crimes shocked the world and left a permanent scar on New Zealand's history.